To you, our grade 12 learners. Welcome to today's mathematical literacy lesson. My name is Mampani Kekana, and please remember that this lesson is brought to you by the Gauteng Department of Education in collaboration with Saibono Discovery Center. So, boys and girls, please tune in for about the next 1.5 hours, and then I hope you're going to enjoy this lesson. Today, our focus will be on the topic measurement and also the most important foundation in the second section of measurement. Now, remember, boys and girls, convergence. Convergence is the most important foundation in paper 2. Please do not overlook this section, because if you don't master this section, it's like if you build a house without a foundation. Okay, so if you don't have this foundation, it simply means you're going to struggle with a lot of questions in paper 2. This is the most important section in paper 2. So what are you expected to know under convergence? Now, boys and girls, at the end of this lesson, you must be able to convert between metric and imperial units. Okay, you must be able to convert within. So in this point, when we say within, it means you must be able to convert between metric units and metric units. What do I mean by that? It's something that you have already done in grade 10, and you also did it in grade 11. If they have to ask you to convert from centimeter to millimeters, or centimeter to meters, or kilometers to meters, that is what we mean by convert within metric. Remember, metric units are those units that we are using in South Africa. Okay, those are local units. If you have to convert between kilogram to grams, if you have to convert between milligrams to grams, if you have to convert between kilometer and meter, if you have to convert between millimeter and centimeter, we say that is the conversion within metric units. Then we also have a conversion between metric units and imperial units. What do we mean by that? For instance, if you have to convert from inches to centimeters, if you have to convert from miles to kilometers, if you have to convert from gallons to liters, there we're talking about conversion between metric and imperial units. So those concepts are very, very, very important. And then again, you must also be able to convert temperature. We know that in South Africa, if you have to read a temperature will be in degrees Celsius. A degree Celsius, but when you go to other countries, like in USA, they are using a different unit. So in USA, for instance, they are using a degree Fahrenheit. So you must be able to convert between the two. Remember, for instance, if for instance you want to visit USA, and then you're so concerned about the temperatures, when you read the temperature there, the temperature will be in degree Fahrenheit. It might not make sense to you, or you might not be able to tell whether it's hot or it's cold. So therefore you need to convert it to the degree Celsius. Or maybe someone from overseas would like to visit our country, and then when that person checks the temperatures, he could only see the temperatures in degrees Celsius. Therefore, he might not be able to tell whether it's cold or it's hot. So therefore, that person will have to convert it to degree Fahrenheit. Okay, then the next one is we must be able to convert time. We must be able to convert time, and then we must also be able to calculate the time differences. What do we mean by converting time? You must be able to convert from minutes to hours, or from hours to minutes, from seconds to minutes, or from seconds to hours, and so on and so on. All those conversions. And then what do we mean by calculate time differences? Time differences is the difference between the starting time and the ending time. For instance, Most of you would arrive at school at about 7:40 or 7:30 in the morning, and then you leave the school at around 2:30 in the afternoon or 3:30. So if you want to know how much time you spend at the school, they will be calculating time difference. And then of course you must be able to work with the relationship between distance, between speed, distance, and time. You know that formula, that triangular formula. Please, it's very, very important that you must be able to master it. Okay, boys and girls, in every section, in every topic, we are working with terminologies. There are certain terminologies that you will encounter during a section or during any topic. In Maths Lit, we always advise our learners, or we always emphasize that our learners should be able to give the definitions, must be able to explain the terminologies. And then we don't necessarily expect you to write the terminology word for word exactly as is. You can use just a couple of words, let's say 3 to 5 words, okay, in a sentence to give your own explanation the way you understand it. But some of the convergence terminologies, or some of the terminologies that we find under convergence, is of course we are working with conversion. You need to understand when we say conversion, what are we referring to? What do we mean by that? So in this case, a very simple definition is a change from one system or one unit to another. You can just say a change from one unit to another. A change from one unit to another. But if you say a change from one system to another, it simply means one system is Imperial, the other one is um, metric. So just by saying a change from one system to another, that will be enough. Or if you just say a change from one unit to another, that will also be enough. Now we also have conversion factor. Conversion factor, what do you mean? Okay, you all know that 1 meter is equals to 100 centimeters. 1 meter is equals to 100 centimeters. Okay, that is a conversion factor. But how do you explain that in words? Okay, or we have 1 mile is equals to 1.6 kilometers. That is a conversion factor. What does that mean? It means if you want to convert from kilometers to miles, you're going to multiply by 1.6. But if you convert from miles to kilometers, you divide by 1.6. But what do we mean by the conversion factor? So conversion factor is value used to convert or change quantities from one measuring system to another. Okay, you can just avoid the or. Like for instance, in this case, you can say value used to convert quantities from one measuring system to another. If you don't want to use the word convert, you can say value used to change quantities from one measuring system to another. If you know a conversion factor, if you know what the conversion factor looks like, or if you know if you are working with conversion factors, you should be able to explain it using the weights and then the way you understand it. Okay, but by giving a couple of weights. 2 words might not be enough, 3 words might not be enough, but maybe 4 or 5 words will be enough in your explanation. And then of course we've got degrees Celsius. It's a unit to measure temperature in most countries. It's just a unit that is used to measure temperature in most countries. Okay. And then we've got analog. What do we mean by an analog? Analog, it's a measuring instrument. It's a measuring instrument that displays values by the position of a needle. Okay, then we say, e.g., we've got a clock or a scale. Think about a clock. Whenever you see a clock, okay, if you have to explain what is happening there, so in this case it's a measuring instrument. Now remember, clock, it's a measuring instrument because it measures time, but it displays values by the position of a needle. That needle that is moving, or the needles that are moving there, they are actually indicating time. So in simple terms, we can say an analog, it's a measuring instrument, displays values by position of a needle or hands on a dial. Okay, like I said, if you get a long definition where there's or just avoid using or, but in this case, it's just to indicate that you've got an option. Right, then we've got digital. A digital is also a measuring instrument that displays values in numbers or digits. Okay, like for instance, some of you, when you're using your watch, you can also use a digital watch. So the digital watch, it shows numbers there or digits. Okay, so it's an instrument that displays values in numbers or digits. Therefore, an example is a digital clock or scale. And then we also have a distance. We are working with a distance, boys and girls. So you should be able to explain in your own words, 4 or 5 words, what do you understand by the word distance. So the word distance means how far it is from one place to another, how far it is from one place to another. So like for instance, from your school to your house, there's a distance. So what do we mean by that distance? It's how far it is from your school to your house. So in this case, in general, it's just how far it is from one place to another. Okay, we also have the length. Most of us would confuse a distance and a length. They are more or less the same, but when we talk about a length, we are talking about a small measurement. Okay, it's just a smaller measurement. So this one we say the measurement between 2 points in a straight line. The measurement between 2 points in a straight line, e.g., the length of a room. Elapsed time. What do you mean by elapsed time? So elapsed time is the time that passed since the start of an event. Elapsed time. If at the beginning of your period, let's say in the morning, your first period will start at 8:15 and then will end up at 8:45. From 8:15 to 8:45, we say that is an elapsed time. So elapsed time is the amount of time that has passed between the starting point and the ending point. So this one we say time that has passed since the start of an event. Okay, so I hope so far so good, boys and girls. The terminologies, you don't have to stress about it. You read it once and then in your own words, see to it if you can actually write it in your own ways the way you understand it. Okay, we also have imperial system. We spoke about between metric and imperial. Imperial system, it's a system of measurement using inches, pounds, feet, gallons, and miles. Okay, imperial system, remember, is a system of measurement that is used in other countries using inches, pounds, feet, gallons, and miles. Those are just examples. Metric system, this is a system of measurement that uses meters, liters, kilograms. Okay, these are just the common units that we use in South Africa. And then we've got measure. Okay, what do we mean by measure? If they say measure, what do they mean? They mean use an instrument to determine size or weight. If they ask you to take your ruler and say measure the distance from one point to another, it means use an instrument. In that case, the instrument will be a ruler to determine the size. The size, that means it's going to be the length between the 2 points. What do we mean by measuring? That is the next one. Now, measuring is determining the value of quantity directly. So measuring, it means after you measure, then we say this is measuring. Measuring means you must find the value. If you have to measure between 2 points, then I will say use your ruler to find a length between 2 points. Then you must write down the value. So that is determining the value of quantity directly. What do they mean? Reading the length of an object from a ruler or the mass of an object from a scale. And then we've got mass and weight. In math the two weights, we use them for the same thing. We don't actually differentiate them like they do in other subjects. So for us, mass and weight, they mean an indication of how heavy an object is. It simply means an indication of how heavy an object is. Of course, we've got volume, which is an amount of space occupied by substance. Volume is an amount of space occupied by a substance. Like for instance, I've got this bottle in front of me. Okay, if you look at this bottle, I'm in a studio now. Okay, I'm in a studio. The amount of space that is occupied by this bottle in the studio, that is a volume. Okay, the amount of space that you occupy in the classroom, your whole body, the amount of space that is occupied by your whole body in that classroom, it's called a volume. Then we've got capacity. I've got the very same bottle in front of me. Okay, the capacity, you see this bottle is supposed to contain water. So the amount of water that can be contained by this bottle, the amount of water that can be contained by this bottle will be determined by the capacity. Okay, so capacity is an amount of space inside the bottle, the amount of space inside the bottle. So that is capacity. I hope you remember all these terminologies, boys and girls. You don't necessarily have to memorize them. Find a way of interpreting them in your own way, but as long as you can give about 4 to 5 words in your own explanations, that will be enough. Right. Very, very important. Convergence metric system. We all know that we should be able to convert between the 4 units. We've got kilometer, we've got meter, we've got centimeter, we've got millimeter. Okay. In most cases, the examiner might not be nice to you and give you the conversion factor. So you need to know this. Okay, like for instance, if you want to convert from a kilometer to a meter, is something that you should know. That, okay, obviously 1 kilometer is equals to 1000 meters. Okay, so that means if you want to convert from a kilometer to a meter, you're going to multiply by 1000. But if you want to convert from a meter to a kilometer, you're going to divide by 1000. Now, what about from meter to centimeter? From a centimeter, you all know, you should be able, or you should know that 1 meter is equals to 100 centimeters. Okay, hence I'm saying with regard to a metric system, the examiner might not be nice to you. So 1 meter is equals to 100 centimeters. What does that mean? If you want to convert from a meter to a centimeter, you multiply by 100. If you want to convert from centimeter to meter, you divide by 100. So the next one, if it's from a centimeter to a millimeter, we should know that 1 centimeter is equals to 10 millimeters. Okay, this one is something that you should know, obviously, boys and girls, because if you check your rulers, most of you, the rulers that you are using, if you check the edges of the ruler, on one edge it's indicated centimeters, and then the other edge indicated millimeters. Where you see the centimeters, you'll see that if it's 1 centimeter and then the other edge is in millimeters, you'll see 10 millimeters. So what does that mean? It means 1 centimeter is equal to 10 millimeters. Okay, the same thing with grams, or the same thing with mass or weight, kilogram to gram and gram to milligram. Okay, you must be able to convert. We know that 1 kilogram is equals to 1000 grams. Okay, the examiner might not give it to you, so you need to know it. And then we also have, okay, so this one means if you want to convert from a kilogram to a gram, you're going to multiply by 1000. But if you want to convert from gram to kilogram, you're going to divide by 1000. Okay, so on the next one is capacity. If you want to convert from kiloliters to liters, again, 1 kiloliter is equals to 1000 liters. So if you want to convert from kiloliters to liters, you will multiply by 1000. But if you want to convert from liters to kiloliters, you're going to divide by 1000. Then if you've got liters to milliliters, we all again know that 1 liter is equals to 1000 milliliters. Okay, 1 liter is equals to 1000 milliliters. That means if you want to convert from liters to milliliters, you're going to multiply by 1000. But if you want to convert from milliliters to liters, you're going to divide by 1000. Very, very important, boys and girls. As I indicated, this is what you need to know. Okay, if you do not understand this section, if you don't make sure that you understand this section, I promise you, you are going to struggle with most of the questions in paper 2, because most of the questions in paper 2 involve conversion. So very, very important that you need to master this. Okay, Now, of course, with regard to conversion, I think your teachers at school level, they have explained a way of you, or the way that you can remember how to convert between the metric units. Okay, one of the most common one is King Henry died by drinking chocolate milk. Okay, and then we know that in this case king represent kilo, and then this one is um, hector, and then this one is deco, and then there we've got this one, the middle one represent the basic unit, and then we've got kilo, we've got hecto, we've got deco, we've got the unit, and then we've got deci, we've got centi, we've got milli. So I'm sure your teachers explain this however way that you can memorize this, or however way that you can be able to use this table. Please make sure that you use it to do the conversions. Right. Now, let us look at some examples with regard to conversions. Okay. So this one, they say the mass of iPhone is 187 grams. So I know that most of you are actually dreaming to get an iPhone, but you need to know that they are actually come with different masses. Okay, depending on the model. So this one, they say the mass of iPhone is 187 grams. Determine the mass in kilograms. Okay, so this one, it means the first thing you need to know is how do we convert between gram and kilograms. Okay, how do you convert between gram and kilogram? So this one could have been kilograms. So first thing, 1 kilogram is equals to 1000 grams, right? Then therefore, what do we have in this case? We've got 187 grams, right? So we need to know what is this amount in kilograms. So it means whatever method that you have used at your school level, then in this case we can still use the cross multiplication. Or some of you will know that once they've got a conversion factor like this, they know that if I convert from kilogram to gram, I'm going to multiply by 1000. But if I have to convert from a gram to a kilogram, I'm going to divide by 1000. So in this case, we can simply take 187 and then we divide it by 1000, and then this will give us 0.187 kilogram. Okay, can you see how easy it is, boys and girls? So hence I said this is where you cannot afford to lose marks, because this is the easiest part in paper 2, and this is the most important concept. Actually, it is actually a foundation of paper 2. So we've got 0.187 kilogram, and this is how we convert. Okay, then the next example is the picture alongside shows a set of different sizes of bed. Then the question is, do two single beds make one double bed? Show calculations. Right, so we know that we've got single bed, we've got three quarter, we've got double bed, we've got queen, we've got king. So in this case, we need to indicate, do two single beds make one double bed? So it means if we take two single beds and then we combine them, okay, are they going to give us the same size as a double? Okay, so obviously in this case, if you look at the length are the same. So 188 centimeter, and then the other length is also 188 centimeters. But in this case, they are referring to the width. Okay, they are referring to the width. So if you look at the width of a single bed, it's 92 centimeters. And the width of a double bed is 137 centimeters. So how can we compare the two? So if we take a single bed and then we combine two single beds, so in other words, we are going to have 97 times 2. I'm sorry, it's 92 centimeters. So it's 92 centimeters. We multiply by 2. So if you take your calculator, you say 92 centimeters, or just 92 multiplied by 2. then you get 184. So this will be 184 centimeters. Okay, so the width of a double bed is 137 centimeters. But when you combine two single beds, you get 184. So this one we can compare. You can see that it's way big. Okay, so the question is, do single beds make one double bed? The answer is no. It's actually way bigger than a double bed. It's way bigger than the double bed, because if you compare the width, you can see if I double the single, I get 184 centimeters, while the double bed is 137 centimeters. Because in some cases, one might say, but it's the same thing. If I have to if instead of buying a double bed, I can buy two single beds and then combine them. But you can see that if it's two single beds, you actually get a bigger space. So that was one example comparing. Then the next one is a cereal box. Okay, a cereal box contains 0.45 kilogram of oats. A normal serving is 30 grams. How many servings can be obtained from the box? So it means if your parents have to buy a box of cereal, so it means for every serving it's supposed to be 30 grams. If you have to measure it, 30 gram will be enough for each serving. So but how many servings can you get? Okay, so how many servings can you get? So we take 0.45 kilogram, 0.45 kilogram, and then we need to divide it by 30 grams. Okay, 0.45 kilogram, and then we divide it by 30 grams. Okay, now you need to be careful, boys and girls. There's a catch in this one, because this is what most of you will do. Yes, you will know that you will have to divide, but the most common mistake is you'll forget to divide, because the units must be the same. So if you've got 0.45 kilogram, you divide it by gram, there are two ways of doing it. Some of you will convert the kilogram to grams, or some of you will convert the gram to kilograms. I think we have already done an example where we converted between kilogram and a gram. If you want to convert from a kilogram to a gram, you know that you are going to multiply by 1000, because 1 kilogram is equals to 1000 grams. So if we take 0.45, we multiply by 1000, it's going to give us 450. So this is the same as 450 grams divided by 30 grams. Okay, then we see how many savings we're gonna get. So the number of savings there, if we take a calculator, 450 divided by 30, then this will give us 50. So 15 savings. So it means if you have to take 30 gram every morning, okay, 30 gram of saving every morning, that will only last you for 15 days. Right, and then the other way of doing it is some of you might convert the 30 gram. So if we've got 0.45 kilogram, and then you divide it by, instead of 30 gram, we divide it by, so we convert the 30 gram to kilograms, we divide it by 1000. 30 divided by 1000, so this is 0.03. 0.03, it's now kilograms, but in the end the answer is the same, it's still 15. Okay, remember in MathLead we don't actually limit the method that you're using. As long as the method will lead you to the correct answer, it doesn't matter how you get to the answer, but what is important is as long as your method will give you the correct answer. Okay, so I hope so far so good, boys and girls. And then the next one is, wow, again, an iPhone. So this one we've got, convert between the metric and imperial system. The screen size of iPhone is 5.5 inches. Okay, so most of you, when you look at an iPhone, they always mention the screen size or the weight. Now, if you look at the screen size, in this case, they say 5.5 inches. But now, if you look at the screen, what do they mean by 5.5 inches. How do they measure that? So they actually measure the size of the screen diagonally, so okay, that is from one corner to the opposite corner. So in this case, you see this one is 5.5 inches and that one is 5.8 inches. Okay, for iPhone 8 Plus is 5.5 inches and that one is 5.8 inches. That is how they measure the screen of the cell phone. The same thing with a TV. If they have to measure the size of a TV screen, it's from one corner to the opposite corner, and then that is how, if it's 50 inches or if it's 80 inches, and then that is how they measure it. Okay, then we say convert the screen size to centimeters. For you, to for this cell phone screen to make sense, it must be in centimeters, because you might not actually have an idea of what they mean by inches. So if we have to convert from inches the screen size to centimeters, we can start with the first one, which is iPhone 8 Plus, which is 5.5 inches. Now, if you look at this conversion factor, this conversion factor is 1 inch is equals to 2.54. So what does that mean? It means if we want to convert from inches to centimeters, we have to multiply by 2.54. But if you had to convert from centimeters to inches, you would divide by 2.54. So this one, it means we need to multiply. So however way, if you are using a cross multiplication, you say 1 inch is equals to 2.54 centimeters. Okay, but in this case we don't have 1 inch, but we've got 5 inches, and you are looking for the answer in centimeters. You can indicate whatever letter. So if we cross multiply, in this case, you will see that the length that we are looking for, let me just say length, it's the length is equals to 5.5 multiplied by 2.54. So if you take your calculator, 5.5 multiplied by 2.54, so that will give us 13.97. So it's 13.97 centimeters. Okay, now that means the size of the screen size of the iPhone 8 Plus is 13.97 centimeters. Now 13.9 centimeters, if you estimate it, if you try to visualize it, think about the size of a ruler, which is about 30 centimeters. Half a ruler is 15 centimeters, so it's a little bit, it's about half of a ruler. Okay, just less than that. Okay, what about iPhone X, which is 5.8 centimeters? Obviously that one, it's the screen size a little bit bigger, so we also say 5.8 multiplied by 2.54 centimeters. Okay, you can still use the cross multiplication, or in this case you see that you can just multiply. It's actually the same procedure. 5.8 multiplied by 2.54. Okay, 5.8 multiplied by 2.54, so I get about 14.7. So it's 14.732 centimeters. Okay, so 14.7, it's also almost about half of a ruler. Okay, so it's 14.732. In this case, the examiner or the question doesn't specify the rounding. Just make sure that you first write down the original answer. If you want to round it off, in this case, if we round it off to the nearest centimeters, of course it's going to be about 15 centimeters. If we round it off to one decimal place, it's going to be 14.7. Two decimal places, 14.73, and then three decimal places, it is already three decimal places, which is 14.732. So in this type of questions, you must also expect rounding. Okay, especially in a case where an answer will have more decimal places, the examiner in some cases might instruct you to round it off. So the rounding is also very important. Okay, then the next one is The largest gold bar ever manufactured weighed in at over 500 pounds. Okay, the largest gold bar ever manufactured weighed in at over 500 pounds. Okay, we in South Africa, when they mention the weight or the mass in pounds, it might not make sense. So we understand it better when it's in grams or kilograms. Then they say convert the weight to kilogram. Then the conversion factors are also given there. So we've got 1 pound, it's equals to 450 grams. We have 2.2 pounds equals to 1 kilogram. Okay, there are two ways of doing it. Okay, now usually if there's more than one way of doing an answer, there'll always be a longer way or a shorter way. Okay, but whether you take a long way and you are sure that the long way will lead you to the correct answer, then why don't you follow the long way? But if you take the shorter way and you are sure that that will lead you to the correct answer, why don't you follow the shorter way? So it doesn't matter. Okay, what matters is as long as your answer will be correct. So this one, if we take, for instance, 1 pound is equals to 450 grams. So 1 pound, uh, 1 pound is equals to 450 grams. Okay, but in this case, we've got 500 pounds. This is 500 pounds, and then we need to convert it to grams. The question says convert it, we need to convert it to kilograms, but we can still convert it to grams, and then after converting it to grams, you convert it to kilograms. Does not matter. So if we do the conversion in this case, we cross multiply. So we can say W for the weight, then our weight will be 500 multiplied by 450. Okay, 500 multiplied by 450. This gives me 225,000. 225,000. Okay, but remember this 225,000 is in grams. Okay, now how do we convert from grams to kilograms? And then we divide. So we say this will be 225,000. We now divide it by 1,000, because you know that if we want to convert from grams to kilograms, we divide it by 1,000. So this will give us 225 kilograms. Okay, so that is 225 kilograms. Okay, or the other way, if we use the other conversion factor where we say 2.2, 2.2 pounds, it's equals to 1 kilogram. Okay, then we need to cross multiply. We've got this in 500, which is 500. So it's 500 pounds, and then we don't know what that is in kilograms. We also cross multiply. If we cross multiply, we're going to get W multiplied by 2.2. We get 2.2 W equals to 500 multiplied by 1. We get 500. Remember, in this case, we only multiply the numbers. We're looking for the value of the weight, in this case, which is W. Then we divide by 2.2. Then we say the weight, if we use this conversion factor, is 500 divided by 2.2. So this will give us 227.27 kilograms. Okay, remember, if we use the first conversion factor, we got 225, and then if we use the second conversion factor, is 227 kilograms. Now don't worry about that, boys and girls. The way the conversion factors are given, they lead us to slightly different answers. It's only because maybe this one has been rounded off. That is why it's given as 2.2. Maybe initially it was not exactly 2.2, but This in this case is indicated as 2,2, but that is why it's giving us a slightly different answer. If I was the examiner in this case, obviously I would look at what is given, and then I'll also check if you have followed all the steps and you have used the correct conversion factor as given. Therefore, you are not supposed to lose any marks there. So, but in this case, however way you do it, in the end, the answer will be almost the same. Okay, then the next one is convert between the metric and imperial system again. So the average fuel tank capacity of cars is 12 to 16 gallons. Okay, 12 to 16 gallons. So we know that in South Africa we measure capacities in liters, especially for fuel tank. Those are measured in liters. So if they say on average is 12 to 16, so it means the smallest tank that you can get is 12 gallon, and the biggest tank that you can get is 16. Write the average fuel tank capacity in liters. So we want to know what is the smallest tank that you can get in liters, and what is the biggest tank that you can get in liters. So we can take this 12 gallons. So this is 12 gallons that must be converted to liters. So we want to know what is this in liters. Okay, so the conversion factors, let me check. Okay, if we go back to in this question, you will see that we've got 1 gallon is equals to 4,5 liters. Let me check. It's not indicated here. Okay, boys and girls, we are going to take a short break and then we'll continue in 2 minutes.
I want you to ask yourself these 3 questions. Number 1, what do I want? Do I want to become an A student, or do I want to become an average student? Number 2, I want you to ask yourself, how do you plan on getting there? Are you going to put more extra hours, or are you going to just sleep? Number 3, who will be with you in this journey? Because it is important that we associate ourselves with students who have the same vision as us, who want to become a student, who want to put in the extra work, who want to become better at what they do. Unsuccessful people do not plan, they just let life happen to them. But successful people are planning on how they want their lives to be. And right now, you plan on how you want your results at the end of the year to be like.
Okay, welcome back, boys and girls. I hope you are enjoying the lesson. We were still busy with this example of converting gallons to liters. So I was still saying the average fuel tank capacity of cars is 12 to 16 gallons, right? The average fuel tank capacity in liters. So if you look at the conversion factors that are given, it's 1 gallon is equals to 4,5 liters. So we need to check this conversion factor. It's 1 gallon, it's equals to 4,5 liters. So what does that mean? If we want to convert from gallon to liters, we multiply by 4,5. But if we want to convert from liters to gallons, we divide by 4,5. So in this case, we can take 12, we multiply by 4,5. Okay, 12 multiplied by 4,5. So 12 times 4.5 is 54. So this would be 54 liters. Okay, and then for 16, we also take the 16, we multiply by 4.5, and then we say 16 multiplied by 4.5, so it's 72 liters. Right. So it means according to this, the information that is given here, the average fuel tank is given in gallons. So it means um, this might be cars from America. So the cars in America, we say the smallest tank will be about 12 gallons, and then the car with the biggest tank will be about 16 gallons. But for it to make sense to us, we must convert it to liters. So it means the smallest tank that you can get in American cars is 54 liters, and then the biggest one is 72 liters. But this is how you do the conversion. Okay, the next one is the diameter of a bicycle wheel is 28 inches. The diameter, I will determine the diameter in centimeters. The diameter of a bicycle wheel is 28 inches. Determine the diameter in centimeters. So it means in this case, we need to convert, but we have to look for the correct conversion factor. So the correct conversion factor in this case is given as 1 inch is equals to 2,5. So always use the conversion factor that is given. So 1 inch is equals to 2,5. In this one, 1 inch is equals to 2,5 centimeters. And then now it means if you want to convert from inches to centimeters, you're now going to multiply by 2,5. But if you want to convert from centimeters to inches, you're going to divide by 2,5. So in this case, we have to multiply. So 28 multiplied by 2.5, and then this will give us C. Let us use our rulers. Multiply by 2.5, then we get 70. So it's exactly 70 centimeters. So that is the answer for this example. Okay, then the next question, it's the distance between New York and Washington DC in USA is 227 miles. Convert the distance to kilometers. Okay, again, we have to check our conversion factor. Our conversion factor in this case is 5 miles is equals to 8 kilometers. 5 miles it's equals to 8 kilometers. Okay, now you'll have to be careful in this case, boys and girls, because you can see there's no one in any, the one is not indicated in any one of the two units. Here we've got 5 miles is equals to 8. Then we need to write down our value. So our value in this case is 227. 227 miles. So we want to know what is this distance in kilometers. We're going to do the cross multiplication. So when we do the cross multiplication, in this case, we're going to have D, we multiply with 5, we get 5D. Okay, and then we take 227, we multiply by 8. So if you take your calculator, 227 multiplied by 8, then I get 1816. So 1816. Okay, remember I'm looking for the value of D. If there's a number next to the letter, what do? We divide. In this case, we divide. Then now our D, which is the distance, will be this, and this will cancel out. Then we've got 1816. Then we divide it by 5. So if we divide it by 5, we get 363.2. So it's 363.2. And 2, it's now in kilometers. So that is one other example. Okay, then the next one is the capacity of car's petrol tank is 15 gallons. Convert the capacity to liters. I think we have already done such an example, but let us do this one again, where we've got 1 gallon is equals to 4,5 liters. What does that mean? If you convert from gallons to liters, you multiply by 4,5, but if you convert from liters to gallons, you divide by 4,5. So in this case, we must take 15 and multiply by 4,5. So 15 multiplied by 4,5, 15 multiplied by 4.5, then this will give us 67.5. So 67.5, it is now in liters. Okay, very easy. Okay, the next one is converting between temperature. Okay, converting from one unit of temperature to another unit. So we've got degrees Celsius, of which the formula is degrees Celsius is equals to, in brackets, degree Fahrenheit minus 32 degrees, then close the bracket, divided by 1,8. And then if you want to convert from degree Fahrenheit to degree Celsius, you're going to use the formula degree Fahrenheit is equals to, in brackets, 1,8 times degree Celsius, and then plus 32 degrees. Okay, then the question is, a tourist read on internet that the hottest temperature in Winterfell, Swan is 34 degrees Celsius. Convert the temperature to degree Fahrenheit. Okay, so the formula is given, and the formula is already in the format of converting from degree Fahrenheit to degree Celsius. So the only thing that we need to do in this case is substitution. So for our substitution, it's 1,8 multiplied by 34. Okay, it's still in bracket, and then we say plus 32. Okay, so it's 1.8 multiplied by 34, and then plus 32. So we can say 1.8 times 34, then we get 61.2, 61.2 plus 32. Then we get 61.2 plus 32 is 93.2. So this is 93.2. And then the temperature is in degree Fahrenheit. Remember, this is a tourist. This is somebody from another country. Okay, that person will read 34 degrees Celsius, but 34 degrees Celsius might not make sense to him. So therefore, he will have to convert it to his local unit. Okay, so in this case, his local unit is degree Fahrenheit. Our local unit is degree Celsius. So for him, you will understand it better if it's 93.2. So 93.2 is not 93.2 degrees Celsius, it's 93.2 degree Fahrenheit. Okay, the next question is, the hottest night on record in the UK, in the UK, it's 101.7 degree Fahrenheit. Now think about this. We are in South Africa, and then they say the hottest is 101.7 degree Fahrenheit. If it was 101.7 degrees Celsius, we will say that is a boiling point of water. But that is not the case, because this one is in degree Fahrenheit. So we need to convert it to degree Celsius. So for the degree Celsius, we do the substitution. It's equals to, in bracket, we've got 107, sorry, 101.7 minus 32, and then in brackets, we say divided by 1.8. Okay, it's always easier if you do everything step by step. In this case, we say 101.7 minus 32. So this will give us 69.7. So 69.7 0.7, and then we divide it by 1.8. So if you take 69.7, we divide it by 1.8. So this will give us 38.7 degrees Celsius. 38.7 degrees Celsius. So that is the hottest night, 38.7. Okay, so the next question is, cookies are baked at 360 degree Fahrenheit for 20 minutes, then convert 360 degree Fahrenheit to degrees Celsius, rounded off to the nearest 10 degrees Celsius. Okay, cookies are baked at 360 degree Fahrenheit for 20 minutes, and convert this 360 degrees Fahrenheit to degrees Celsius, rounded off to the nearest 10 degrees Celsius. But look at the formula that is given. Okay, so the formula that is given there is when a temperature is given in degrees Celsius, and then you need to convert it to degree Fahrenheit. But what can we do in this case? If the formula is given, we have to use that formula. So what are we going to do in this case? We have to do the substitution. So wherever we see degree Fahrenheit, we're going to put 360. So this one, it means we're going to say 360 degrees. It's equals to, now in bracket, we've got 1.8 multiplied by degree Celsius. And then we close the bracket, we say plus 32. 360 degree equals to 1.8 times degree Celsius plus 32. Then we are looking for the degree Celsius. Look at the equation, the way the equation is given or the way the formula is given. So it means now we have to change. Okay. Now, if we have to change this, we can simply say 1.8. Okay. So what I'm going to do in this case, boys and girls, I'm going to turn the equation around. I'm just going to turn the formula around. So I say 1.8 times degree Celsius plus 32, and then it's equals to 360 degrees. Okay, how do I do it? I know that if I've got A which is equals to B, I can simply say B is equals to A. Okay, so what I did, I just swapped I just turned the formula around. So I've got what I'm looking for on the left hand side, 1,8 times degree Celsius plus 32. Now I say 1,8 times degree Celsius, it's equals to, now I have to take this 32 to the right hand side. Then I get 360 minus 32. Okay, 360 degrees minus 32 degrees. This will give me 360 minus 32. Then this will give me 328. 328. Okay, this is still 1.8 times degree Celsius. And remember what we did when we what we were doing when we did cross multiplication. Okay, if you've got a number next to a letter and then you want to get rid of that number, then you divide. In this case, we divide by 1.8, divide by 1.8. So the degree Celsius in this case will be 328 divided by 1.8. So the answer is 182. So it's 182.2. 182.2 degrees. So this is our answer. This is actually supposed to be our answer. But in the very same question, we have to add something. They say rounded off to the nearest 10. Now, rounded off to the nearest 10, it means we need to round it off to the nearest number that is divisible by 10. So the nearest number in this case is going to be 180. If it was 185 or more, then it was going to be 190. But because now it's less than 185, then it becomes 180. Okay, so to the nearest 10 it's 180 degrees Celsius. Now remember, it's only because the formula was given in a different format. Okay, then with regard to volume solid, you need to know the following. You need to know that 1 milliliter is equals to 1 cubic centimeter. So this one, in some cases, the examiner might be very nice to you and give it to you. 1 liter is equals to 1,000 cubic centimeters, and 1 kiloliter is it's equals to 1 cubic meter. Okay, then the next information is, of course, conversions with regard to time. All this, you need to know them. A minute has 60 seconds. So it means if you want to convert from minute to seconds, you multiply by 60. And then if you want to convert from seconds to minutes, you divide by 60. And then we also have an hour has got 60 minutes. Is something that you should know, boys and girls. A day has got 24 hours. That is a full day has got 24 hours. Okay, but in some cases, when we talk about a school day, they might say a school day has got 7 hours or 8 hours. And then again, a week has got 7 days. A full week has got 7 days. Okay, a full week has got 7 days. But in some cases, we might say a school week has got 5 days. All right. And then a month, we generally say it has got 4 weeks, but it can also be 28, 29, 30, or 30, 31 days. So in terms of the number of weeks, we estimate a month to have about 4 weeks. And then a year has got 12 months or 52 weeks or 365 days. Okay. in most cases, we talk about a normal year, which is 365 days. But if it's a leap year, then that will be 366 days. And then a decade, it's a period of about 10 years. And then a century is about a period of 100 years. So all this information, boys and girls, you need to know it by heart because the examiner might not give it to you in some cases. Okay, then the elapsed time, we spoke about elapsed time at the beginning of the lesson, or the duration. So what do we mean by elapsed time? The amount of time that has passed between the start and the end of time. That will be the definition for an elapsed time or duration. Like for example, we've got, suppose you go to a party at 5:45 p.m. and leave the party at 11:15 p.m. the next day. Okay, so suppose you go to the party at 5:45 p.m. and leave the party at 11:15. This is supposed to be just up until 11:15. Okay, 5:45 up until 11:15. Okay, so for 11:15 we have to check the time from 5:45 to 11:15. So if you've got 11:15 and then we say 5:45. Okay, 5:45. So we want to calculate the difference. We want to determine the difference. We want to determine the time that you spent at the party. Okay, so now we have to subtract. We say 15 minus 45. Okay, so in this case, we know that we can subtract 45 from 15. So we take 1 hour under the hour. So here we're going to be left with 10. And then we bring that 1 hour under the minutes. It's going to be 60. So this is going to be 60 plus 15, which is 75. And then now 75 minus 45. If you say 75 minus 45, then you get 30. Okay, look at this, 60 plus 15. Okay, I got 75, then I subtract 45. I get 75, then I subtract 45, I get 30. So this would be 30. And then in this case, I say 10 minus 5, and this is 5. Okay, that is how we do the subtraction. Check the subtraction, but it does not mean the time that you spend there it's 5:30. It simply means the time that you spend there it's 5 hours and 30 minutes. 5 hours 30 minutes, and then you need to indicate it after doing the subtraction, boys and girls. If you just leave it like this, it means you don't understand the elapsed time, because in this case, if somebody has to read this, somebody might see this as 5:30, so it means you spent 5:30 there. So but that is not correct. You actually spent 5 hours and 30 minutes, and then you have to indicate it. So that is how we calculate the elapsed time. Okay, then we are now going to look at the typical exam questions. Remember, once you have mastered everything, every section, it's always good that you go and look at the previous question papers and see how the questions are being phrased. Okay, and then now you imagine yourself, if you were writing that paper, would you be able to answer it? Would you be able to get a distinction in that question paper, and so on? So by so doing, you'll be preparing yourself for the next examination. So this exam question was taken from IB November 2023. It was in paper 2. The ingredients of another recipe using Aero chocolate is given below. Read the ingredients carefully and answer the questions that follow. If 1 tablespoon is equals to 15 milliliters and 1 teaspoon is equals to 5 milliliters, calculate how many teaspoons of boiling water is needed for this recipe. Okay, now we have to read our recipe. We are looking for the boiling water. So if you read through, you'll see that for boiling water, there it is. They say 2 tablespoons. Okay, 2 tablespoons. That is TBSP. Okay, and then remember, for teaspoon is TSP. In this case, tablespoon is TBSP. So 2 tablespoons boiling water. Okay, or the amount of water that is needed in this case is 2 tablespoons. then we need to convert it to milliliters. They say how many teaspoons. They say we want to know how many teaspoons is this. First thing, 2 tablespoons will give us 2 times 15 milliliters, which is 30 milliliters. Okay, 2 times 15 milliliters is the same as 30 milliliters. Now we've got a total of 30 milliliters. Now this 30 milliliters is how many teaspoons? 1 teaspoon is 5 milliliters. We say therefore number of TSB TSP is equals to 30 divided by 5. So 30 divided by 5 will give you 6. Okay, so we first have to calculate the total number of milliliters based on the tablespoons. We got 30 milliliters, but in this 30 milliliters we want to know how many 5 milliliters are in there. The number of 5 milliliters will give us the number of teaspoons. So in this case the answer is 6. Very easy, boys and girls. Right, then the next question in the very same information is the ingredients of another recipe using Aero chocolate is given below. Read the ingredients carefully and answer the questions that follow. If 155 grams is equals to 3/4, so this must be 3/4. 3/4 of a cup. If you check in the recipe, it's clearly indicated there 155 grams. Now the question is, how do you measure 155 grams? You can just take 3/4 of a cup. Okay, now 3/4 of a cup. So in this case we've got 155 grams. We know that it's equals to 3/4 cups. Okay, or you can say 3/4 cups, or 3/4. It's equals to 155 grams. Now the question is, how many grams are in 1 cup? So we want to know the number of cups for 1 cup. This is the same as if we say 3/4. 3 divided by 4, 3 divided by 4 will give you 0.75. So this is the same as 0.75 cup. It's equals to 155 grams. If we are looking for 1 cup, okay, so to get 1 cup there we have to divide by 0.75. So if you divide by 0.75, and then I also divide the other side by 0.75. So if I say 0.75 divided by 0.75 is going to give me 1. So it's just 1 cup, but the very same 0.75 must be used to divide 155. So 155 divided by 0.75, so this is equals to 206. So 206 comma 6666. But remember, if you round it off, you can just say this is about 207. So 1 cup will be about 207 grams. Okay, initially it was given as 155. It's equals to 3/4. It's 3/4 of a cup. Okay, then they need to know 1 cup it's actually equals to how many grams. So it's the same as 207 grams. Okay, that was the question 1.2. And then the next question 1.3, the ingredients of another recipe using Aero chocolate is given below. Is the same information. Now we say, what is the total amount in grams of Aero peppermint bar required? Okay, then we have to read through our recipe. Okay, so if we look at this, we're looking for peppermint bar. So if you look at it's this one. 7 times 40 gram packet of Aero peppermint bar. Okay, 7 times 40. So here they say, what is the total amount in grams? So the total amount, it means you've got 740 grams. So you just say 7 multiplied by 40 grams. So if you say 7 multiplied by 40, this will give you 280 grams. Okay, nothing else. We're just looking for the total amount in grams. So the total amount in grams is 280 grams. Right, the next question, it's typical exam question. This one was taken from Western Cape, September 2023. It was in paper 2. It's a Namibian family, Mr. and Mrs. Leroux, and their 2 children decided to spend their annual vacation at Sun City Resort in South Africa. They embarked on a road trip to save on costs. They left Windhoek at 4 4 o'clock, so that is 4 o'clock in the morning, and traveled at an average speed of 95 kilometers per hour. Verify showing all your calculations if they would have arrived at Kobabis at before 6 o'clock. Okay, so before 6 o'clock. So they leave Namibia at 4 o'clock, and then we need to check if they are going to arrive before 6 o'clock in the morning. So it means they are not supposed to take longer than, if you check from 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock, it's about 2 hours. Now let's see. But if they travel at a speed of 95 kilometers per hour, okay, so we need to calculate the time. So in this case, remember the formula for calculating the time. So this is speed, distance, or time. Okay, so in this case, if we have to calculate the time, how long are they going to take? So it must be time, it's equals to distance over speed. So it means now we have to take the distance and divide it by the speed. Okay, so in this case, the speed, let's say the distance is 400 kilometers. Okay, so if we have to do the calculations, in this case, the distance is 400, and then 400 divided by speed, which is 95. Then we take 400 divided by 95. Use your calculator. 400 divided by 95. This will give us about 4.2. So it's about 4.2 hours. So verify showing all your calculations if they would arrive at Wabis before 6 o'clock. So they are going to take 4.2. So if from 4 o'clock, if they travel about 4.2 hours, so that will make them to arrive at around 8 o'clock. So not necessarily at 6. So it means, yes, for this one, you have to indicate that they are actually not going to arrive before 6 o'clock. They are going to arrive after 6 o'clock, which is about 8 o'clock. Okay, then the next question, it's still based on the recipe. Mrs. Jones decided to make a tuna tart to eat on the road. She uses the recipe below. Note that the temperature at which it should be baked is omitted. Okay. The question is supposed to be the first question. Calculate the amount of flour that is needed in milliliters if 1 tablespoon is equals to 15 milliliters. Okay, if you read our recipe, we've got 3 tablespoons of flour. So the amount of flour that is needed in milliliters, it means it's going to be 3 times 15. So it's 3 times 15 milliliters, and then which is 45 milliliters. Very, very easy. This is where you're supposed to score a lot of marks. Some of the questions look very, very easy, and then that was done intentionally for you to score marks on those questions. Okay, then the next question is, she places the tart in the oven at the time indicated on the watch. Determine the time it should be taken out of the oven. Okay, so if we look at the time that is indicated here, it's about 1, 2, 3. It's about 3 minutes after 3. So this is 3:03. Okay, so 03:03. The time it should be taken. So if you read at the bottom there, they say all together, add cheese on top and bake in a moderate oven for 35 minutes or until set at a certain temperature. So 35 minutes later, if it's 0303, then we say plus 35 minutes. Then this will give us 0303 plus 35 will give us 38. Okay, and then this will be 03. So it means it will have to be taken out of the oven by 22 minutes before 4. 22 minutes before 4. Okay, so that is about 35 minutes later. Okay, then the next question is the oven needs to be set as indicated on the oven dial below. Write down the temperature of the oven. So the temperature of the oven, there it is, the reading point. So it's between 150 and 200, but we need to get the exact amount there. In order to get the exact amount, you must be able to divide the intervals. If you look between 150 and 200, there's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces. So if you say 150, actually 200 minus 150, that will give you 50. Okay, and then you divide it by the number of spaces there. So 50 divided by 5, this will give you 10. So it means the first dot after 150 it's 160. The second one is 170, then it's 180, it's 190, it's 200. Okay, so the reading there is at 160, 170, so it's 180. So the answer in this case is just 180 degrees. Okay, so it was very important for you to know how to interpret the intervals there so that you'll be able to read the correct temperature. Okay, then the next one is the tuna tin has a diameter of 85 millimeters. Determine the radius. The tuna tin has a diameter of 85 millimeters. Determine the radius, and we should know that radius is always equals to diameter divided by 2. Okay, if you are given a diameter and then you need to determine a radius, please take the diameter and divide it by 2. So in this case we take 85 millimeters, then we divide it by 2. So 85 millimeters divided by 2, 85 divided by 2, so this will give us 42.5. So it's 42.5 millimeters. Very easy. Very easy. Very, very, very easy. And then that is 2 marks. Okay, the next question. It's a sick child. Little has a temperature of 100.76 degree Fahrenheit. A temperature above 40 degrees is deemed serious and the child must go to hospital. Determine if Little's temperature in degrees Celsius will lead her to the hospital or if it can be managed at home. You may use the formula. Then again, we need to check if the formula is in the format that we want. Okay, so in this case, we've got 100.76 degree Fahrenheit, but the temperature must be in degrees Celsius. Remember, we did an example similar to this one. If we do the substitution, let's check. Doing the substitution, the value of degree Fahrenheit is 100.76, and then it's equals to 1,8 times degree Celsius, and then plus 32. Okay, remember what I did with the other one. Okay, instead of taking one value to the other side and so on, what I did, I just turned the equation around. So turning the equation around, it's 1.8 times degree Celsius plus 32, it's equals to 100.76. So then from this we say 1.8 times degrees Celsius. Then now we take 32 to the other side. When we take 32 degrees to the other side, it becomes negative. So it's 100.76 degrees Celsius minus 32. Okay, we've got 1.8 times degrees Celsius. It's equals to, now use your calculator, 100.76 minus 32 and then that is 68.76. 68.76 degrees. Then we divide it by 1.8. So the answer is 38 point. So this one we divide by 1.8, divide by 1.8, and then the degrees Celsius will now be 38.2 degrees. Okay. The question was determine if Lige's temperature in degrees Celsius will lead her to the hospital or if it can be managed at home. You may use the formula. So in this case, they said the temperature above 40 degrees Celsius is deemed serious and the child must go to hospital. So now you'll see that in this case, the temperature it's not above 40 degrees. So it means this can be managed at home. Okay, so obviously in this case, you'll have to indicate after doing the calculations. So the statement is very important. You do the calculations and after that, you also write down the statement that this is not serious. It can be managed at home. Okay, and then number 2.1, or the next question, it's about the relationship between speed, distance, and time. It's 2.1. A taxi left Cape Town for Gqeberha. The taxi drove 769 kilometers in 10 and a half hours, excluding stops. What was the average speed of the taxi? You may use the formula. Okay. Now, in this case, we have to calculate the average speed. Now, boys and girls, you must always be careful. Okay. We should know the relationship between distance, speed, and time. Okay. Think about the triangle. So speed, distance, and time. Okay, in some cases, the examiner will give you the formula, but the formula might be in the format that you don't need. Like in this one, they say calculate the average speed. But if you look at the formula starts with distance. So it means you'll have to change the formula. Okay, for you to change the formula, it means you must know your triangle. How do I calculate the speed? The speed must be distance over time. How do we calculate the distance? The distance will be speed multiplied by time. How do we calculate time? The distance divided by speed. So in this case, what are we supposed to calculate? We're supposed to calculate the speed. So the formula will be speed equals to distance over time. So it means in this case, the examiner was only trying to play you. So wanted to check if you know that this formula must be changed. And then if you know this, then you'll be able to do all the calculation. Okay, then our distance is 769 kilometers. We divided by, then we've got 10 and a half. 10 and 1 over 2. So if this is given as a mixed fraction, it's much easier to work with decimal fraction. Okay, it's much easier to work with decimal fractions than mixed fractions. So if you've got 10 and a half, okay, if you want to convert it to a decimal fraction, the first thing you convert it to an improper fraction, you say 10 times 2, you get 20, and then 20 plus 1, you get 21. So this is the same as 21 over 2. Then 21 over 2, if you do it on a calculator, is going to give you 10.5. So this is the same as 10.5 hours. 10 and 1 over 2 hours is the same as 10.5 hours. Then it's going to be much easier for you to calculate this if it's in decimal form. So it's 769 divided by 10.5. Then you say 769 divided by 10.5. Then this is 73.238. 73.238, and then this is in kilometers per hour. Okay, again, sorry, the question doesn't specify the rounding. Okay, so must please always write down the original answer with many decimal places as possible, and then from there you can round off. In this one, if you round it off to the nearest speed or to the nearest whole number, that will be 73. If you round it off to to one decimal place, it's going to be 73.2. If you round it off to two decimal places, it's going to be 73.24. So we need to check, we need to know the rounding as well. So that was the question about speed, distance, and time. So still on the very same question is a taxi left Cape Town to Mfocabega. The taxi drove 769 kilometers in 10 and a half hours, excluding stops. The taxi stopped for 10 minutes every 2 hours to allow the driver to rest. How many times did the taxi stop? So in this case, we've got 10,5 hours, remember, like we did. Okay, so for 10,5, so remember, they have to rest every 2 hours. So if you take 10.5, you divide it by 2, that will be about 5 times. So 2 hours, in this case, you divide it by 2 hours. So this will give us 5,25. So in this case, the number of stops will be 5. So this will be 5. Remember, it can't be in decimal. So in the end, it must be 5. Okay, so this is how we do it for number 2.2. Or maybe some of you might not even do the calculation. They can see, they can say the first 2 hours, then the next one is 4, and then 6 is 8, then it's 10. Then you can see you've got 5 2 hours. So the 5 2 hours means it's going to be 5 stops in between. Okay, then the next one is Mrs. Bester sells 450 grams packs of rusk at 49 Rand 50 per pack. The table below shows the main ingredients to bake the 5,000 grams of rusk. So convert the 1,56 kilogram to grams. So we've got in this the self-raising flour, which is 1,56 kilograms. So we need to convert it. Okay, boys and girls, remember now it should be easy. How do you convert from 1,56 kilograms to grams? If you want to convert from kilograms to grams, you multiply by 1,000. Okay, so you take 1,56 multiply by 1,000, and then we get 1,560 grams. Should be very, very easy. I think we have done a couple of them so far in this lesson. Okay, the next one is write in simplified ratio form the mass of raisins to mass of butter. So this one we have to write in a simplified ratio. So the mass of raisins will be 125 grams. Okay, and then the mass of butter is 625 grams. Okay, remember, if we have to write a ratio, we're not supposed to have units. So in this case, likely the units are the same, so they can just cancel out. So this will be the same as 125 is to 625. Then we simplify. Simplifying means we can divide by, so you can say 125 or 625. 125 divided by 125 obviously is going to give us 1, and then 625 divided by 125 will give you 5. So the simplified ratio is 1:5. So that is how easy it is. Then the next one is calculate the mass of raisins needed to bake 450 gram packs of rusk. So calculate the mass of raisins. So for this one we need this 125 that is given, 125 grams. Remember, it's for 5,000 grams of, okay, 125 gram that is indicated of raisins. It's enough to bake 5,000 grams. Okay, now we want to know about the number of raisins that will be needed for 450. So this must be for 5,000. So for 450 grams, we now need to know the mass. So we can say letter M for mass, and then we cross multiply. M multiplied by 5,000, so we get 5,000 M. It's equals to 125 multiplied by 450. 125 multiplied by 450. This will give us 56,250. Then we divide by 5,000. Divide by 5,000. Divide by 5,000. So 5,000 and 5,000 will give us 1. Then we say 56,250 divided by 5,000. The answer is 11.25. Only 11.25 grams of raisins will be needed to bake 450 grams pack of rice. Okay, so that is number 4.3. Okay, then the next one is calculate the number of cups of bran flour needed if Mrs. Bester bakes 8 kilograms of rust. So in this case, the number of cups, friends, we need 6,25. So we need 6,25 cups for 5,000 grams. Okay. Okay, but in this case, we want to know the number of cups for 8 kilograms. So we need to check for 8 kilograms. Okay, how many cups are we going to need? Now we need to be careful, boys and girls, because in this case, you can see that for 6,25 cups is 5,000 grams. But in this case, we're looking for 8 kilograms. So what we're going to do is we're going to say 6,25 cups is enough for 5,000 grams, but 5,000 grams is the same as 5 kilograms. Okay, so that the units must be the same. So 5,000 grams, how do we convert from grams to kilograms? We divide by 1,000. Then now I can be able to compare this. This is 8 kilograms. Now I can cross multiply. So I can use M again for, okay, let's say N for the number of cups. Then I cross multiply, N multiplied by 5 is 5N. And then this is when we multiply this, and then the other multiplication is 6,25 multiplied by 8. 6,25 multiplied by 8. So this will give us 50. So and then in the end we divide by 5. Divide by 5. So the number of cups needed will be 10. Okay, so the number of cups needed is 10. Right, so the next question. Okay, so this will probably be the last question of our lesson. So it's typical exam question 5 was taken from Western Cape Prelim paper 2 question 3.2. Mike is fixing any wooden furniture but also make furniture to sell to clients. The wooden bench with dimensions in inches and centimeters below is one of his latest projects. Right, the information is given there. 1 inch is equal to 25,4 millimeters, and then of course they've indicated the volume, the formula for the volume, the formula for the area. We are only going to use the information that we need there. The question is write down the height of the bench in centimeters. So obviously in this you need to identify the height. So the height is 30 centimeters. So 30 centimeters is the height. We need to convert it to, write down the height of the bench in centimeters. Yes, it's given in centimeters already. So we just write it in centimeters. Just a matter of reading. We don't do any conversion there. Okay, so because the height is already in centimeters. So in other words, what the examiner was looking for was for you to be able to identify the dimensions, to tell which one is the height, which one is the length, which one is the breadth. But in this case, the examiner was looking for the height. Okay, then 5.2, it's convert 9 and a quarter, 9 and 1 over 4 inches, which is the width of the bench, to centimeters. Round your answer to the nearest centimeters. We've got 9 and 1 over 4 inches. Like I said, boys and girls, it is much easier to work with the values which are in the form of whole numbers or decimals. So the first thing that we need to do is to convert this mixed fraction and make it a decimal. So if we say 9 times 4, okay, so 9 times 4, you get 36, and you say plus 1, then you get 37, so you say 37 over 4 inches, which is the same as 37 over 4. 37 divided by 4, you get 9.25. So this must be 9.25 inches. But now we need to take this 9.25 and convert it to centimeters. There we've got the conversion factor. 1 inch is equals to 25.4. If it's 1 and it's 25.4, then it means we are going to multiply. But look at this. This is in millimeters. Okay, so what we are going to do is we are going to convert it to millimeters, and then after millimeters, we convert it to centimeters. We take 9.25, we multiply by 25.4 millimeters, and then the answer will be 9.25 multiplied by 25.4, we get 234.95. And then this is, remember, 18 millimeters. But the question is to the nearest centimeters. This one you must know it. It's just metric unit. How do you convert between centimeters and millimeters? If you want to convert from centimeters to millimeters, you multiply by 10. But if you want to convert from millimeters to centimeters, we divide by 10. So we take 234.95, then we divide it by 10, and then this will give us 23.495. And then it is now in centimeters. Okay, you can just leave it as 23.495, or you can round it up to one decimal place, which is going to be 23.5, or maybe to two decimal places and so on. But it's always safer to write down the original answer. Okay, so that was the last question. I wish we had more time, boys and girls. We actually have more questions, but unfortunately, time is not on our side. And then thank you very much for tuning in. And then I wish you all the best. Remember, as I indicated from the beginning, this is one section that you need to master. If you are going to, if you won't be able to master this section, you'll find paper 2 very challenging. So very, very important. Please make sure that you master this section of conversions. Very, very important. Thank you very much for watching this lesson, and then I hope to see you next time. Goodbye.